Hello, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not represent those of the host of the station. Folks, I have with me today a special guest, and I'm going to tell you about my guest. But before I tell you about my guest, I'm going to give you what I had said about 8 years ago when my husband Matt was alive. I had wished that our church would have ministered to him and not have abandoned us because we couldn't attend. I think it's very important for any place of worship, I don't care where you worship, to minister to the baby boomer generation, which I am one, that we are aging and we may not be able to attend due to chronic illness, due to dementia. This is such a huge ministry, and I'm so happy and I'm so honored, and it's my pleasure to have with me today Reverend Ben Boland from Australia, who is doing that where he is. He is ministering to those people that are often forgotten about. Now, you're probably, I'm going to say the majority of parishioners might be baby boomers, and you don't want to forget about us. We're an important part of society, and it's just, and I'm very passionate about that. But with me today is Reverend Ben Boland, who is a chaplain. He's a lecturer. He is on YouTube, LinkedIn. He started ministering with older people and people living with dementia as a youngster when he and his siblings would visit the nursing home. Reverend Ben Boland has served as a paid older person's chaplain for over 15 years. He has a website, JesusLoveAndAgedCare.com, and also developed an advocacy ministry, speaking, writing, and lecturing about this ministry area, which is so important. He is going to have a book coming out July 8th, thereabouts, called Priceless People. Wow, that, I love the title of that book. And he also has a newsletter, I believe, called Priceless People, which I get monthly, and it is really great. And I highly recommend going on the website, which will be in the notes. And I want to welcome Reverend Ben Boland from Australia. Welcome.
Good day, Betsy. Welcome to hello to the U.S.
Oh, thank you. Isn't technology great? I could talk to anyone anywhere in the world. It's amazing.
It is good when it works.
Yes. Yes, that is true. Reverend Ben, I just love what you do. And I am so thankful you reached out to me on LinkedIn, and then I'm able to interview you because I think people need to know about you. You're very passionate, and it comes through. I've seen your videos on YouTube, and I highly recommend for the audience to watch them. And you can tell when a person, I can tell anyway, when a person really cares. And I want to thank you, first of all, for coming on my show. And I want to thank you for the ministry that you are doing there in Australia. And people can get your newsletter and your new book coming out. I'm excited. I'm excited for you, and I'm really happy for you. And how did you get led to be a minister, first of all?
Well, thank you for your excitement, Betsy. Look, I must say I'm pretty excited about the whole thing too. In terms of moving into ministry, when I finished my first degree, I thought about training and doing what you guys call seminary, tends to be Bible college down here, and prayed about it and felt it wasn't the right time, and then did some more study and prayed about it again, felt the wrong time. and we'd sort of given up on the exercise, thought that it wasn't where I was meant to be. And then we were at a Baptist church, and one of the elders said, you're functioning as an elder, you should think about Bible college. I'm like, oh, I've tried a few times already, and God's pretty clearly said no. You really should try. Okay. So we prayed about it, and I applied to a Bible college. And I applied to go to do a 1-year course, and I must have been a slow student because I didn't leave for 3. And yeah, we'd planned to look at mission service overseas. Health issues for our oldest son made that quite not possible functionally. So I got to my 3rd year, I'd realised that I was very comfortable in aged care and in hospitals, which I thought was normal, but I'd realised wasn't perhaps as normal as I thought it was. And started to look at jobs and ended up working as a student minister for a year in a big retirement village in Sydney. And the more I've done it, the more passionate I've become. So 17 years later, I'm either a slow learner or I'm on the right track.
Well, it doesn't matter if you're a slow learner, quick learner. You have a heart that is full of passion for what you do, and it shines through. I really enjoy your newsletters and what you are, doing in your area, and it's so important, Reverend Ben, to reach out to the, I'm going to say baby boomers, because like I said, I am one, and I know from my own personal experience what it was like to be abandoned by our church. And it was painful. My husband, Matt... Go ahead.
It's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And I'm so ashamed as a Christian when I hear your story there. And sadly, it's a common story. People get older, they face health issues, they maybe don't drive as much anymore or at all. They're caring for themselves or they're caring for a loved one. And being there every Sunday is no longer possible. And then suddenly they don't count. Or they do turn up every Sunday, but they're relegated to, you can make the tea and pray in the corner. Older people are a blessing from God, and we need to be loving them.
Amen. It says in the Bible, take care of the elderly, right, and the widows. And
look. Sorry, Betsy.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Reverend Ben.
Well, I was going to say, look, Scripture calls us to love our neighbours, which clearly applies to everybody across age, gender, race, etc. But there are actually over 40 specific commandments to care for widows. So I think the Bible makes it really clear that it's not good enough for us to neglect widows. Now, obviously you can be a widow in your teens, but most widows, both now and in the ancient world, were older. So it is critical that we follow Christ's teaching and we care for widows. We do not forget. We do not neglect. We do not overlook widows, and I would suggest widowers as well, and which is, in my world, I think a good, almost a euphemism for older people. Jesus was very clear that if people take a legalistic approach to the law, if I do this, I don't have to do that. That's just rubbish. But clearly we are called to care for widows, and I would suggest that means older people in general, whether they're boomers or pre-boomers, the builders. We need to be loving them.
Yes, and I think, I used to think, what a wonderful ministry it would be for people to minister to the population who has dementia that might be members in their congregation. And how, the minister or clergy person, depending where, you go, it's called different names, is really missing a blessing themselves by not ministering to these individuals. Now, Matt, my husband, he was a Sunday school teacher, a trustee, a deacon for years. Was at work day, every time church had a work day. And then when he needed help, of course, the church had changed pastors a few times. And when he needed help, Reverend Ben, we didn't get it. And do you want to know why? Now, talking about unbelievable, this is sad. We didn't get help because we didn't go to church 3 times a week. Now, how can you go 3 times a week if someone has dementia and they're not able to go? And your building isn't really right, accessible. And really, I was devastated. My husband didn't really care, but it bothered me.
But whether he was aware of it or not, we are called to care for each other. And it's not about, church is not a building. It's meant to be a group of people. And if we forget people who are struggling in that group, I'm not allowed to use the language I think I would like to use at that point. But that's devastating. And look at the stats, not only for people in church, but the number of older people in America, in Australia, across the world, that is the fastest growing demographic.
Yes.
So if we are going to reach people with the gospel, we need to be reaching older people. There is really clear academic research now from across the globe that as people age, they become more interested in spirituality. Now, that's spirituality in terms of meaning, purpose, and hope. But if you can't get God, Jesus, the Bible into meaning, purpose, and hope, then you shouldn't be in ministry. So we need to be caring for older Christians who, much like your husband, are probably facing the hardest time of their lives. Their loved ones, but also people who've never known Jesus. We need to love them too.
Yes. Amen. And I think, I had one pastor who would say everything rises and falls on leadership. And unfortunately, and I know you've met people probably like this in the ministry, Reverend Ben, and I'm not knocking down clergy people because I know wonderful, wonderful people in the ministry. But when you have a pastor or clergy person that makes it all about themselves and what you could do for them, that is not the way it's supposed to be. When you're called to serve, it isn't what that person laying in the bed could do for you. It's what can you do for them to help them. And I think a lot of people may lose, sight of that. Maybe their hearts grow cold after a while in the ministry, and then I think I recommend that they either renew themselves or change course, because I just think it really is just an important part. I would have loved it if somebody would have came to have ministered and shown us some, help. And I'll tell you that I'm going to give an example of a difference to the audience and to you, Reverend Ben. My son Josh started going to this different church, and right before Matt died, like maybe a year before Matt died. And when Matt died, before Matt died, people in the church would give Josh a ride to the hospital because my son can't drive. And after Matt died, I wasn't a member of this church. They did a meal train for a week I didn't know these people. I went, like, after Matt died, I had went to a church, and I said, thank you so much. What a testimony. I said, your churches, to do this for me when I'm not even a member. I'm not even a member of your church, and you are helping me. Whose church would I want to go to? The one who showed me love and support, or the one who abandoned me? And
look,
it's mind-boggling.
If we don't love, then we're not doing our job. We're in Lent, we're coming up to Easter. The message there is simple, that God so loved us, not that he stayed away, but that he came and became human and lived with us in this broken world and then died for us. If we fail to love people in word and deed, we are failing. Again, that quote from James 1. Consider it pure.
Yes.
Wrong quote, that too, but my brain will turn on in a minute. Oh, yeah. Religion that God our Father accepts is this: to care for widows and orphans in their distress. Look, Betsy, from what I'm hearing, I'm not sure that the religion that you were offered by your church during Matt's frailty was acceptable to God. And that's terrifying.
Yes, it is. Matter of fact, that pastor of the church that we used to go to would even make jokes about Alzheimer's, which my son found very offensive.
Clergy are humans.
And he stopped going, and my son, he has a cognitive disability, Reverend Ben, but he understood more about Alzheimer's than so-called intelligent people, and he just was great with his dad, and I just, like a heart of a child, right? I mean, God loves children, and and loves when you serve the population of those who you may not find lovable. And, you have to, it has to be about your purpose, right, Reverend Ben? Why are you really in the ministry? First of all.
Why are we Christians? We're Christians not because we were lovable, but because Jesus loved us when we were dead in our transgression. And as Christians, we follow that model, and we love people not because they can do things for us, not because they're pretty or powerful. We love them because God loves them.
You are such a role model. I don't know if you realize that, Reverend Ben, but you are. I wish I could clone you and put you all over the world. And I really want people to look you up because you are just phenomenal, and what you do. And I liked your video. This is off topic. The Resurrection Garden for Easter. That is so cute. That was so cute. But very creative. Excuse me. And I asked the pastor's wife. I said, I don't know you. I don't know the members of your church. And they gave very generously. I even got gift cards to restaurants. And I said, and I really appreciate you helping me. And why are you doing this when I'm not a member? And you know what she said to me? She said, Betsy, the way Josh talked about you, I'm going to get emotional. The way Josh talked about how you took care of Matt, you were such an example for our younger women that it's our pleasure to help you. I just I could cry just thinking about it now. And it's 5.5 years ago almost already. So when people show, and I'm just going to say this from my own personal experience, when people show love and the true gospel in serving, that is a testimony. That is really a true testimony, to give without expecting something in return and saying, we're doing this to help you, and you don't even have to become a member. I thought that was just very touching.
Yeah, it is touching. Look, I am confident that the gospel message is for everybody, and therefore we have a right, indeed, a duty to proclaim Christ crucified. That is clear. But for most people, their willingness to hear that will be based on how we treat them. And therefore,
Amen.
we need to love people. It's that simple. It's not rocket science.
That is so true. Even just a phone call. Hi, how are you? How you doing? I know sometimes people are uncomfortable. I know sometimes people don't know what to say to someone who has any kind of dementia, or they think, oh, it doesn't matter, they won't remember. But let me tell you, folks, and I've seen this firsthand, people know love. I've said this for years, Reverend Ben. Dementia may rob the brain, but it can never, ever rob the heart of love. I've seen it. Love is there. And they know. And talk to people. And you might think this sounds a little wacky, Reverend Ben, but hearing is the last sense to go. And I know, I believe the reason is God wants us to hear our loved ones say, I love you. I'll see you later.
Yep.
That's why I believe that's the last sentence.
We need to hear that. We need to hear that we are loved.
Mm-hmm.
When we are infants, when we are teenagers, in our young adult years, in our middle years, in our later years, irrespective of dementia or any other challenge, we need to hear, to know we are loved. God created us as relational beings to love each other and be loved by Him. And we need that encouragement, particularly when times are tough.
Yes. I want to talk about your newsletter, because I think that is a phenomenal. Tell us about what you're doing. How did you go about creating your newsletter?
Well, in the cold, hard truth is it's actually the Americans' fault in that sense, if you'll bear with me for a second. I've got a friend here who does quite a bit of writing, and who'd been over to some American writing conferences, and she was saying how important it was to keep people in the loop and in the build-up to, and engage people in the topic of you're writing about. So inspired by the Americans, she inspired me, and so it's been a chance for me to communicate this passion. One of the challenges with writing, and particularly with publishing books, is that there are so many books today. The issue is no longer getting them printed. The issue is cold hard facts marketing. Now, I hate marketing myself, but I am passionate to see people love older people and people living with dementia. And so I'm just trying to use this book not to, look, it would be nice to sell some copies because I've spent an awful lot of time and energy and all those things. But much more important than that, that's not even a third level issue, that's a 12th order issue. The first issue is that we as Christians need to love, and particularly to love older people and people with dementia who too often are at best neglected and abandoned. We need to recognize that they are priceless. And if we don't know what to say, get the book, get some other resources, find out what to say. If you're not sure, learn. Turn up, love, pray, pastor. So, yeah, the newsletter is partially marketing, but I'm hoping it doesn't promote the book per se, but promote this incredibly important ministry area.
Oh, I think your newsletter is great. I like reading it. You know, because I read it. I go on the YouTube, and I like knowing, you know, what's going on in your area of the world, what you're doing. And your book, what inspired you, motivated you to write your book, also called Priceless People?
Yeah, so when I started working in this space 17 years ago, I assumed that I just hadn't read the right resources. I'd done 3 years of Bible college, I'd done the Masters, and I'd been in churches for forever and a day. But I didn't know very much about ministry with older people. And so I studied, I scoured the libraries, I talked to people, and I realized that it wasn't that I hadn't found it, but that those resources didn't exist. So once I'd been in the space for probably 5 years, I started thinking, we really should get a group of people together. Someone should really write this book about just how this and this and this and this and this. And I did that for almost 10 years of thinking about that. And then Mothers Union, which is an Anglican, which would be closest to be Episcopalian in the US context, newsletter magazine produced by some of the Anglican women, asked me to write an article for them. One article became about 12 articles, and those articles then became the basis of the book. And from feedback from that, from people asking questions, from wrestling with what do I wish I'd known, what do volunteers ask me, what do we need to have in this, so that someone who's never really done ministry with older people and people with dementia, or someone who's been doing it for a decade, has some real, or I hope some real insights in the book for both groups, for both the pulpit and the pew. People can be better equipped to love and to share Jesus' love in this context.
Oh, I love it. That is so true. And I'll tell you, Reverend Ben, 17 years ago, I could tell you there was not resources available. My mother-in-law, I took care of her. And I was in from 99 to 2004, when she went to a home in 2004. There wasn't information available and how to deal, with behaviors and, how do you talk to people, to them. And I think that's what people fear. If I would used to say, well, when someone has cancer, people will go visit. Now, back many years ago, people were afraid of people with cancer. And now they're not, because they know they're not going to catch it. But for some reason, people fear those that have dementia. And there's nothing to fear, because they just want to be loved and talked to like everyone else. And when I would be out with Matt, and if I saw someone from church, they would talk to me and ignore Matt. like he wasn't even there. And,
Yep.
you know, that is so, folks, that is just so cruel. People should be treated with dignity and respect all through their life, no matter what their challenges, disabilities, their diagnosis is. All people want to be treated with love, respect, and dignity. And really, what's the basic tenet, Reverend Ben, of, I say this loosely, all religions, is to love your brother, to love one another. And when you ignore someone, to ignore someone that's sitting right there, it's not showing love, folks. It's not.
It's hatred.
I have to share another story, Reverend Ben. You'll probably laugh at this one. My husband's also an usher. So another usher said to Josh, "Oh, I would call your father up, but he won't know who I am." So my son, out of the mouth of babes, my son said, "Well, Bill, it's not rocket science. You call up, you say, 'Hi, I'm Brother Bill from so-and-so church. How are you, Matt?'" He said, "It's that easy, Bill."
Oh, Josh, that is exactly the right answer. Oh, yeah.
I had to laugh.
Well, I mean, the other thing that I remind people of in that space, at least in the Australian context, is that when someone has a new baby, everybody flocks with meals, with, "Oh, can I hold the baby? Oh, isn't he or she beautiful?" Now, last time I checked, at least Australian babies don't know people's names. They don't hold a great conversation with you. Yet we flock to infants, but people with dementia who may struggle with our name, we flee from. My dad's living with advanced dementia now. He hasn't really known who I am for 2 years. But the question is not, does he know me or is it comfortable for me? The question is he my father? And do I love him?
Yeah, yes. I have seen love, unconditional love, Reverend Ben. And, we could teach our children. I said this a lot, too, and I'll say it again. We can teach our children valuable life lessons by being a role model on caring and having compassion and empathy for someone who has dementia or maybe another illness, another disease. And to learn that deep unconditional love that you are doing for this person who can no longer do anything for you. But because you love them, you do it. You serve them.
That's what love is.
Yes. And that's what, I learned. Matt and I were married for 39 years. I knew Matt for 40. And Matt's journey with Alzheimer's, he had early onset Alzheimer's, taught me I loved Matt, of course, but during his journey, I learned a deeper love, Reverend Ben, and Josh did too. He learned a deep, unconditional love that you don't get from a textbook. You don't get that from counseling. You just develop it as you go along, and you treasure each moment, and you just really have a new appreciation for life. For sure. I know I do. The older I get, the more I appreciate it. And do you also minister, Reverend Ben, to the caregivers along with your loved one?
Yeah, and I think that's one
wonderful.
of the important things about this ministry space. Someone told me many years ago that the mark of great youth and children's ministry is not simply reaching to the youth and the children, but reaching intergenerationally to families. And the same is very true in terms of ministry with older people. So I'm in a small country town. There's about 5,000 when we moved here, so it's more than that now. But there are lots of people who would not normally darken a church door. But every family in the community I touch, because they have loved ones. And I have a chance to care for them and to love them as they're bringing their loved ones into care, which can be incredibly traumatic. As they are caring for their loved ones in care, and often taking the funerals at the end of that care journey too. So it is very much an intergenerational ministry in that sense. An opportunity not simply to love the person who is older or the person living with dementia, but to love their family, their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and to reach into a whole family and a community, and for them to see, for them to hear, God willing, for them to know Christ's love for them.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. And that is a gem, what you just said. That is a treasure, because when you reach your family and intergenerational, you have no idea the ripples that can happen. You know, maybe a young person going into the ministry, or, you know, they decide, oh, yeah, you know what, maybe I will go into the field to maybe be a speech therapist or a physical therapist, some other field to help the people who need help. It's just, you know, love is such a strong force, Reverend Ben, that, and I think, you know, firsthand, that love remains. And that's why I keep telling people, even if your loved one can't respond, keep talking to them, touch them, hold them. Love them, exactly. Let them know that they're loved, because everybody wants to feel loved. When Matt would, of course, he hallucinated his last few months of life, but he would say, oh, he wants to go home. And I would say, okay, Matt, I'll take you home after breakfast. And, of course, you know, he forgot. But he would hallucinate about seeing strange men around. And I'd say, oh, Josh and I will, you know, we're going to throw the guys out. And, you know, he thought they were hurting him. And, you know, you're safe. All he wanted was reassurance and love. And even when he was at the point where, I mean, he knew that he had Alzheimer's. And his attitude was, well, this is God's plan. I don't like it, but this is God's plan for me. Then what can I do? But he would, a couple of times, he would cry, oh, I don't like myself. I'm worthless and all this. And I just would hug him, and we'd cry together. And I'd say, we're here for you. You know, we love you.
Weep with those who weep.
Yeah. You know, it's just, I'll tell you this, Reverend Ben, dealing with someone, your spouse, through this journey, it transformed my life. And it made me a better person. And people have a choice. They could be bitter or they could be better for it. I'm sure you've met many people who get mad at God and say, well, you know, why did God do this? If God was loving, why did my husband or my wife or mom or dad had to suffer? I didn't look at it that way. I now know that Matt's journey helped me become a better person. And I've been called to do this job that I do, to interview people, to help people. And that's what led to this. And I thank God, and I always give him the glory and the praise that he got me through caregiving. Because I'll tell you what, it was by his strength and grace that I'm sitting up.
It could only be.
Yes. That I'm sitting here talking to you. And, you know, I just have a whole different outlook on life. And I'm not bitter, you know, anymore. It was tough. I was bitter at first. I was, and I'll admit it. And God changed me. God changed me into a completely different person, and I'm ever so grateful. And I could say that. I know I'll see Matt again someday. I feel him with me, and Matt was my inspiration, and always will be. And you know, there's just so much to learn from people, and we can learn. And that's what I want to tell. I know you probably tell this to people that you meet, but I'm just going to say this, folks. You are missing out on a blessing, an opportunity. You're missing out by not visiting someone who is ill. Whether it's cancer, some kind of dementia, whatever the situation is, be a blessing to someone else. You'll feel better about yourself too. That's for sure.
And if you don't experience it vicariously with them, how are you going to cope when you face it? Because whether you get dementia or not, we will all face suffering. We will all face illness. And not only do we care for others by turning up, but we prepare ourselves for when we are the one in need, the one in the hospital bed, the one who can't remember the person's name. That's critical.
Yes, it is. Do you do hospice, Reverend Ben? Are you a hospice chaplain by any chance?
So I do what in Australia is called aged care, which used to be called nursing home. I believe in the US context it to be care home. But look, the stats for care homes in Australia now is that the average length of stay is 18 months. So it's not hospice in the 3 weeks palliative care space, but everybody I deal with, resident-wise, is dying. I bury my congregation every 18 months.
Wow. That you are a special person, Reverend Ben Boland. You are, to have a heart to do what you do, it is a blessing. And I think I really want to encourage everyone, and it's going to be in the blog, go on Reverend Ben Boland's YouTube channel. Read his newsletter. And the book, which sounds phenomenal, will that be on Amazon.com? Or would they have to go to your website?
Amazon.
Okay.
No, that will be on Amazon. And hopefully in some physical book retailers as well. But yes, no, that will be on Amazon. So they can get it just like every other book.
And it's not out yet, folks, July 8th, which is really not that far away. But I would encourage people to go on your website to keep updated as to when the book is definitely published and out to purchase. And I think it's a book that should be read by anyone, especially those in any type of ministry position. Chaplains, anyone who is in the ministry, should read Priceless People. Well, Reverend Ben, I think you're priceless. You are a treasure. And God bless you and the ministry that you are doing for people, because it is a special calling, as far as I'm concerned, to minister to the sick, to those that are dying. Not everyone can do it. It takes a special kind of person, and you are. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Betsy. I guess full-time, yes, maybe it's a specific calling. Not special's a bit, I don't know that I'm that good. But I think part of it is that if we all do a little bit of it, it's the little things. It's the drop in and have a cup of tea with somebody. That's not a special ministry per se, but it is a profound ministry. Calling your great Aunt Mary once a week is not rocket science. So yeah, we can all do this, and we are all called to do this.
Yes. Yes, that is very true. And I always say, treat people how you would want to be treated if you were laying in that bed, right, or sitting in that wheelchair. Yep. Would you want to be ignored?
Yep.
No. And that's how I've always treated people when I worked as a nurse. I have always treated people as if they were my family. And
I think you're the special one, then, Betsy.
Oh, thank you. I used to work in a state institution for the severely disabled, and I would talk to the clients, and the staff would say, "Betsy, who are you talking to?" And I'd say, "I'm talking to the clients." They said, "Well, they can't talk, don't you?" And I said, "Well, I know, but they can hear, and they're human." Yeah.
And they need to be talked to. They need to be loved. They don't just need physical care. They need social, emotional, and spiritual care.
Yes, exactly. Social, emotional. I'm writing that down. And emotional, social, emotional, and spiritual care. That you hit it right on the head. That is so true. And I said, well, they could hear, and I treated them with respect and dignity. It's not to boast of myself, but that's how I've always been. And
that's how we are all called to be.
Well, yeah, I don't understand sometimes why people are the way they are, but we need to bring back the love, folks. We need to show love to our fellow human beings and treat people with respect and dignity. Reverend Ben Boland, and I'm going to spell your name in case people can't understand me. It's Boland. You're a treasure. I love talking to you. It's such a blessing to talk to you. And can you tell the audience your website and where they can connect with you?
Okay. The easiest way to connect with me is actually on LinkedIn. Search Reverend Ben Boland. That will pull it up. The YouTube channel has my name in it too. So Ben Boland, Jesus Love in Aged Care. We'll pull up the YouTube channel. I've actually got a number of other things online, articles, radio, and other things. But yeah, look, type Reverend Ben Boland, find the ugly photo, and that's me. But yeah, reach out to me. And look, if you're living with where Betsy was a few years ago, and you've got a husband or a wife or a mother or a grandmother who's doing this, reach out. If there's something I can do to help, sometimes all I can do is listen, and that's great. Sometimes I may be able to give you some practical suggestions or help. Because, This is not about me. This is about us sharing Jesus' love. And if I can help you in some small way, I would love to.
Oh, amen. Thank you so much. Folks, I highly recommend reading the blog. It's going to have all the information about Reverend Ben Boland. I highly recommend you going on his website. You will be blessed. I have been the YouTube. You will learn. You will be blessed. There's might be past. No, Easter's late this year. There's a cute video about yes, about having a resurrection garden. And I have to say, thank you, Reverend Ben Boland, for being up early because I'm in New Jersey, America, and Reverend Ben is in Australia. It is actually Tuesday early morning for you, afternoon for me. But thank you for being up early. I felt bad that you're up so early to talk to me, but thank you. It was such a blessing talking to you, and I wish you the best. And you're welcome.
It's a privilege to talk to you, Betsy. It's a privilege to talk to you. And look, time zones are time zones. We make it work.
Thank you. And you're welcome to come back anytime. You want to come back after your book is out. You want to come back in
I would love to. I was going to say, shall we book one? Yeah, in July or August. Sounds wonderful.
Yes.
You tell me when you want me, and I will get up early and talk to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Folks, you heard Reverend Ben Boland, bye-bye, B-O-L-A-N-D, from Australia. But the needs of people are the same worldwide. It doesn't matter where you live. People want to be loved. They want to be treated with respect and dignity. They want to be heard. This is universal across the world, across the globe. And I want to thank Jeannie White, who's the station manager, who writes the blog. So please read the blog and produces the show. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio Network, makes this all possible. I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you for listening, subscribing. Share this show. Tell people about Reverend Ben Boland. Get his book. It will help you. Newsletter, the YouTube channel. Let people know about resources that can help them have a better quality of life. That's what I'm here for. That's what Chatting with Betsy is about, a resource. And I'm here to help you. And that's why I have guests on who are experts and who want to help people. And I like to give out information that I wish I had when I was a caregiver. So I want to share, and I want to help as many people as possible, and I need your help to do it. So subscribe to Chatting with Betsy. It's for free. Tell your friends. I'm on Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, to name a few. And if you are looking for a support group, I have #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement on Facebook. And as I always say, you can follow me on Facebook, Betsy E. Wurzel, W-U-R-Z-E-L. And if you are down and out, but as I always say at the end of my show, in a world where you can be anything, please be kind, shine your light bright, because we need it now more than ever before. And if you're down and out, reach out to someone. Reach out. There's help available, folks. I know it's hard these days. People are struggling. I know. And we are here to help you. Passionate World Talk Radio Network is not just a regular Internet station. We are a resource center. Go on the website, passionateworldtalkradionetwork.com. You could type in probably any topic, and you will find a speaker that I've spoken to, a guest who can help you. I've covered many topics on the show through 5.5 years, and I'm here to serve. That's what I've been called to do. And thank you so much again for listening, and thank you again, Reverend Ben Boland, for coming on. This is Betsy Wurzel. I am Betsy Wurzel. You're a host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Till we chat again, be safe. Bye-bye now.